this is our moment. Turn the level way up till it's high voltage. We gon' light them up, make the world take notice. When the game face on, then it's game over. You a witness in the force to be gradually grinding for great.
Welcome in, everybody. We got a little special guest here today with us, Steve Melewski, and we're going to cover some of the pitching prospects and how you might not be ready to hear how good they really are. So, Steve, thanks for joining me here today. So how you been?
I've been good, Zach. I've been doing a lot more in the minors this year than previous years, which, as you know, I love. So getting to go to places like Aberdeen and Bowie, and I think maybe a Delmarva trip is going to be in the offing here very soon now that the draft picks are there. And then all of Birdland, of course, is hoping that it won't be long now before a couple of players, last name letter B, make their way to Baltimore. Also,
Won't be long. So actually, let's start off that. I want to ask your opinion on losing Aberdeen and going back to Frederick. What does that do for this franchise? Does it do anything at all?
Well, I shouldn't make this about me, but I've worked both of those cities over my career, and I love both Frederick and Aberdeen. So it's a mixed emotion for me. But the bottom line is, and I'm not calling out Aberdeen here, but for whatever reason, I don't know the reason, they just stopped drawing. And it's been for years. It's not weeks or months or a homestand. It's years where Aberdeen's become a poor draw. And Frederick, when they lost their team due to contraction, was one of the top drawing teams in the Carolina League for several years. They've always been a great baseball community. So just from a fan standpoint, attendance, interest, passion for the team, Frederick ranks high. They didn't deserve to lose their team. They lost it because the facility was dilapidated, and they're putting $40 million in improvements in it right now, and they need more beyond that, and they know that. So Frederick is going to be a great baseball community. It's simply a matter of the Oriole High A prospects will now be in Frederick, not Aberdeen. Aberdeen will be the draft league. And I think Frederick will, as they did previously, greatly embrace an Oriole farm team.
Very nice. So let's touch on some of these trades here. So I ran into you at Bowie down there, and we watched Kyle Bradish pitch together. And there's a lot of good arms down there, and I don't think people realize it. Some people do, but I don't think people realize the amount of talent, because when you look at some of the numbers, obviously they're not always blowing off the charts in Chesapeake, but they have good stuff. So can you kind of elaborate on some of the good arms that are down there?
Well, here's an interesting thing about the minor leagues. It took me years to really process this. It sounds harsh when you say it. The team win-loss records are really somewhat insignificant here. It's about the prospects they have and can they help the Orioles win games. And the Bowie pitching staff, and now it's rivaled by Aberdeen after the trades, but the Bowie pitching staff is the most star-studded in the Orioles system. Trey Gibson, who just lit it up at AAA, I think is a top 5 Oriole prospect. I don't think he's number 10, 12, 15. I think he's top 5. And I think he's the best pitching prospect they have, closely followed by Michael Ferret and a few others. So Gibson to AAA. Ferret went Aberdeen to AA, so I'll anxiously await his first start for the Bay Sox. But you've got, well, Braxton Bragg got hurt. That was very tough news. And Nestor Hermana just wrote about on my Substack. No one talks about him, flying under the radar. Quality stuff, quality pitcher. Ferret's now joined that team. Trace Bright is there. Ryan Long's had a solid season there. So some of their numbers don't jump off the page unless you were talking about like Trey Gibson and Ferret. But these guys are all pretty good. And I think the Oriole pitching development, and I've been telling fans, is gaining on the hitting development of those prospects that helped the Orioles win when they were, before this season. They Adley, Gunner, Westy, those guys were good hitters that make their way. Now some of these pitchers are going to make their way. And they added to the pitching depth with these trades. So now, Zach, what they have for this winter is, let's say, and you and I will never know the answer to this question, but let's say the Orioles, when they're in a conference room talking only amongst themselves, say, we got 6 pitching prospects we think can truly make it. And that number might be 3, it might be 8, who knows? It's not 20. No one has 20 pitchers on their farm that they truly believe will be major league pitchers. I don't think. So now they probably added to that with a couple guys like Wellington Aracena. This kid, he might make it. We're going to see Ramon Gomez pitch here eventually with that 104-mile-an-hour fastball. And so the guy that, Bateman at Delmarva. So this is all good. You just want to keep pumping talent in. And now when you want to pull a trade this winter, you have a stockpile. You're trading from a surplus. That's always how you want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And can you elaborate a little bit? So a lot of people don't understand about the whole Nunez situation. Do you think we see him in Baltimore maybe in September because of his issue with the Rule 5 this offseason?
Well, that does help a player perhaps get moved up sooner than if they're going to add him in the winter anyway. Maybe they take a look. So he just got to AAA. So maybe the Orioles feel like he's going to need some time at AAA. What's the rush here? And maybe they know we're going to protect him, but we don't want to put him in the big leagues after 2 AAA outings. Although maybe they'll see the stuff there and go, you know what? Let's take a look. Because right now it's open tryouts in the bullpen. I was disappointed Houston Roth didn't get a chance. The kid's been on an Oriole farm since 2019. They called him up for a week and he couldn't get in the game. Come on, man. Right. And then they DFA him, but he stayed, he passed waivers. So maybe the Orioles were proven right there. You? A little bit. Anybody could have had him and no one took him. So late in the year, maybe teams are set and they're not putting an untested kid in their bullpen if you're a contender. So maybe that worked against him getting added. But I would like to see him getting some games before this year is out.
Yeah, I was just looking at his numbers. He's had a really good season so far.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to look into Twine Palmer at all? He kind of interests me.
Much.
I know nothing jumps off the map at him, but he just seems like he hides the ball pretty well. And it could be a guy that could be sneaky. He's not ranked in the Orioles top 30 or anything. He wasn't in the Astros either, but he's a guy that kind of interests me a little bit.
Me too. I mean, he's pitched pretty well in his first few outings. And Fangraphs had him like 37, so they were on him a little bit. But really, Zach, it's like Trey Gibson, he didn't get drafted. But he didn't get drafted partially because he was suspended for his final season at Liberty, and he's never publicly really talked about that. But he's a great kid. I've sat with him a couple times this year in Bowie and did a podcast with him recently on my Substack. That was very popular. People enjoyed listening to him. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear the talent is there. We can see that, but the smarts are there to match. We can hear that. So it comes through when you sit with a kid for 15 or 20 minutes, which I've always loved the minors for that. That's how I got to know Gunnar and Westberg and Grayson and all these guys. You sit with them for 20 minutes in Bowie, and all of a sudden when they show up in Baltimore, there's some familiarity. So, and I had that with Beavers and Basayo too from interviews over the years. And all these kids are good kids. I mean, I'm always more optimistic than most on the Orioles because I grew up an Oriole fan. It's in my blood. I love this organization. I still love this team, and I love this town. And I think they're going to get back, man. Because look, the way they're going to get back, it's not easy, but they're going to need Basayo and Beavers to kind of hit and be productive players. And Mayo, and if you add those 3 to the other young core, and now you add some pitching, you can get back faster than you think. The Blue Jays won 74 games last year, and they might win the AL East this year. So the Orioles are probably going to win 74 games-ish this year, and they're going to have to pull a Blue Jay 2025 performance in 2026.
Now, do you think with the talent that they have in AAA, do they take another wait-and-see approach like they did this offseason, or do you think they're going to be aggressive, like you said, potentially move some of these guys or move them up and give them a shot? How do you see them attacking the offseason with this much pitching talent coming up?
Well, they got a lot of bullpen spots to fill. Now, Suarez could fill one. Tyler Wells could fill one. So something we sort of forget about those guys, but both could be pitching in the big leagues before this year is out. Probably will be. And they could be big additions for middle relief, long relief next year. And that could help you fill some holes. And then you hope a couple guys emerge from the current open tryouts, whether it's Dietrich Enns or some others or Corbin Martin. That's how they got Perez, CNL Perez. They essentially threw him in and said, let's see what he's got. And some other pitchers that way. Brian Baker, no one was giving him a chance, and then the Orioles did.
Danny Coulombe too, right?
What's that?
Danny Coulombe too, right?
Coulombe, yeah. He had a little bit of a resume going, but it got stronger, obviously, on the Oriole watch. So you can build a bullpen faster than you think. You have a couple guys who are going to come off injury list in Baltimore. One or two you find out of what these open tryouts, I keep calling it, and then you sign a couple. And Felix, that was a big blow. And if we hear that he's going to need surgical procedure and is going to miss a lot of next year, that's a big blow. So their work is vast on the pitching side.
Yeah, and I think you and I were talking before here. Did you say you interviewed Wellington Arencena?
Yes, I did. I went up to
talk about that a little bit
and got some interpreting help to interview Wellington Arencena, and he's pitched great. I mean, this kid's mid to high 90s fastball, can touch more than that. He's got some power, like cutter slider type pitches, and it's going to need off speed as he goes, but they'll develop that for him. And I mean, he's a really good starting pitching prospect. I think he's probably higher than he's being rated right now, like in the 20s in the prospects. I might bump him up higher than that. But I mean, the Orioles are starting to just stockpile a lot of pitching prospects. Their top 30 now is almost half pitching. It's about that. And
14.
So that's a good spot to be in.
Now, you've been covering the Orioles for a really long time. Do you remember a top 30 with 14 pitchers in it recently?
I don't remember the breakdown. Year to year, man, it all runs the same for me. I have stats I keep, and I can go back and look at my notes sometimes and look up things, but probably not very often. And the Orioles, in the early tenure of Elias and his staff, were pumping many more talented young hitters into that top 30 than pitchers. So now they're catching up. Their pitching program is catching up. And when I talk to Braxton Bragg, Trey Gibson, Michael Ferret, as I've talked to all these guys this year, a picture emerges that these young coaches that fans don't know much about right now, like Jeremy Heilman at Aberdeen, Jordy Henry at Chesapeake, these are real. I'm impressed with these young pitching coaches because not only do they have all the data and analytics that we know all teams love, but they have some old school pitching thoughts as well, I've found. And they're open to that. Jordy Henry and Chesapeake told me if there's something that Greg Maddux did 30 years ago that Braxton Bragg can make work today, let's do it. They're open to the pitcher needs to get better. How that happens, who cares? Let's make it work. So these guys are open to old school, new school. They've got all the, they know all the data, and they're teaching these kids how to win. And they do extensive scouting on the farm. Trey Gibson goes into an outing. He knows what he's facing at AA or AAA. He knows the cleanup hitter. This is his weakness. This is how I should try to get him out. Because when he faces the Yankees, he's going to need scouting reports. So they're doing that on the farm. So I really like a lot of things happening on the O's farm. And I think Baseball America, Zach, this week the Orioles were 17 in their organizational rankings in February and have moved to a number 11. I think that's a fair bump up. I think it's reasonable. They might even be a little better than that, but 11's good because it shows you they're trending up. And what'll really take them into the top 10 is they need a couple guys now to get into the top 100. If they add Ferret, if they add Gibson to top 100, if one of these hitters emerges to make it, next Dylan Beavers, then all of a sudden your farm system goes to 5 or 6. And so I think they're heading that way again.
Yeah. Do you have you been able to really look into De La Cruz at all yet?
No, not very much. You talking about the kid at Dominican?
Yeah. Is it Wilfrey or something?
Yeah, Wilfrey, the shortstop.
Yeah, De La Cruz.
Yeah, just 17 years old. They got from the Cubs with Kittredge. Just hear good things about him. And I mean, JJ Cooper, when I had him on my podcast, is today it actually dropped. So fans can go to steveonbaseball.substack.com. I have a podcast I put out today with JJ Cooper, Baseball America, talking about the new top 20. And he told me he thinks De La Cruz may become the Orioles' best international prospect outside of like Samuel Basayo. He's not better than that. Okay. Yeah. And the Orioles have some good. I mean, Aaron Estrada, I think, has really taken off at AA. He's going to be. There's a guy who I could say a year from now will be in the top 100. That's my guess. So Estrada's line is trending up. He's a decent defender. He's got some speed. I look for guys like, to me, Beavers is a more well-rounded player than Kerstad. He's a better defender. He probably even runs better. And so I like to see well-rounded. We all love his offensive stats, but can he help in other ways? He can. And Estrada is not Dylan Beavers quite yet, but
Right.
he can play. He's very versatile defensively. They play him infield and outfield. He's not a huge plus defender, but he's not a negative either. He's kind of average-ish, and that he can really move him around the diamond. So some of these guys, Zach, people aren't talking about the Aaron Estradas now because we're all focused on Beavers and Basayo and top 100 and all this. But the kid is just perking along at AA. He's like 2021. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, especially at 20 years old and already coming up and contributing in AA, like you said. I was there the first night that he played, and he hit a home run his first night, and I was just like, okay. And the swing was compact, it was short,
Yes,
and it was. I mean, the ball just sounded different. I mean, you hear that sound, from Creed. Sometimes you're hearing it out of Rhett's back, but that ball coming off of Estrada's bat was
when you
pretty
go
impressive.
look in the MILB computer today, I think it still says this. It still lists Estrada at 140 pounds.
Yeah.
Guess what he really is? Because he told me. He's 202.
I was going to say 195, yeah.
How about that?
202. I believe it.
You stand
He's built.
next to Aaron Estrada, you realize this ain't 140 pounds. So he's growing into his body. If you look at his homers, all of a sudden they're coming, and 5 or 6 homers are going to turn into 15, and they're going to turn into 20. So this is what you want from an international prospect. Trending up, swing decisions pretty good right now. Knows the strike zone, switch hitter, by the way.
Yep.
And so growing into the power. So this is really what you want from an international kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some other guys. I mean, what are your thoughts on Creed? I think Creed's got a nice swing. I've watched him defensively. He's got a very good arm. What do you think, like, as far as framing and blocking go? Do you see him as a big league catcher?
I haven't watched him catch very much this year to give an informed opinion on that. I'd have to ask a scout or someone with more data and knowledge than me where they rank his defense. I don't know. Creed always gets graded down for his bigger body. He just looks bigger than a lot of baseball players. And so as a big body guy myself, I don't play professional baseball, so I can't quite relate to that. But I mean, Creed's just a hitter, man. He knows the zone. He's got the pop, and he is, don't forget about him either. And he's a guy we, as new guys emerge, we sort of shuffle off in the back of recesses of our mind some of the guys who've been there for a year or two. And he's trying to tell us with his bat recently, don't do that with me. Yeah.
So is there anybody else that people are kind of, don't really know their name of, or kind of sleeping on a little bit, that you've been kind of have piqued your interest?
I mean, we're still learning about these new guys. It looks like Tyson Neighbors has had some good outings. Micah Ashman at AA has had some good outings. Nunez just got to AAA. Jaquan Watts Brown is a really interesting name, and he is a top 10 Oriole prospect. And his first outing at Chesapeake, not great. Second, much better. And I happened to be there the day he got traded. And in Baltimore, they were watching who did he get traded for? Dominguez switch clubhouses. In Bowie, I was watching Jaron Watts Brown change clubhouses. I saw him walk over and talk to the Bowie coaches, and the trade was just then officially getting announced. And I interviewed him that night and put that on my Substack. And he's a delightful kid to talk to. And I could tell he has a real clue about pitching too, just the way he answered questions. And so, if you have 10 pitching prospects, Zach, get 20. If you have 20, get 30. If you have 30, get 40. That was Andy McPhail telling me that 10, 15 years ago. You can never have enough pitching prospects because some of them are going to get hurt. Some of them aren't going to pitch as well as you thought, but some of them are. Some of them are going to pitch like Jaquan Watts Brown and Wellington Aracena and some of these new guys that are starting to show us what they can do. And to me, Trey Gibson, man, he's minor league pitcher of the year. Ferret could co-pitcher or steal it from him with a big finish. But that outing at AAA the other night, that would have probably played in the big leagues if he were pitching in the big leagues that night. Yeah.
Now, have you looked into any of these drafted guys yet? Like Aloy or Ike Irish? Or
not yet.
Like
I'm looking forward to possibly getting to Delmarva soon and talk to him and meet him And that's when you really, for me, what I do, that's when you really start to know them. That's when I got to know Cowser, and you could tell Cowser was a free spirit. That first interview we did with him in Delmarva, it's like, this kid's loose, man. And so you start to get a little glimpse of who they are and what they can do. And it looks like the early stats are good, just on a couple games. You can't tell much. But the Orioles universally, it seems like, from the analysts who do this every day and know more about it than I do, are giving them good grades for the draft. As you and I both know, we won't truly know that for a year or two. But that's another area that could help these rankings, because none of these draft picks are top 100 right now.
Right.
But a couple of them sure could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bodine, Aloy, excuse me, all these guys, they just look the part, and they almost look like they're overmatching everybody else in Delmarva. Do you see maybe any of them getting pushed to Aberdeen potentially before you even get to Delmarva?
Maybe last year at the last week, the draft picks who are there now, like Honeycutt and those guys, Austin O'Verne, who's now moved to Double-A, they went from Delmarva to Aberdeen for like the last week, essentially. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past the Orioles doing something similar, because these are college drafted players, most of them. Obviously, Slater DeBrun is not, but these other ones are college kids who are a little advanced. And so Delmarva is probably going to challenge them, but really at some point they might get them to high A, because that's probably where they're all going to start next year. The Orioles like to do that on the farm, get a guy at the very end of 2025 where he might start 2026.
Yep. All right, so give yourself a little plug here. We're gonna plug your Substack. Where can everybody find your work?
I am at steveonbaseball.substack.com. And so I'm really excited how this has worked out for me. It was a blow to me in January when my contract was not renewed by the Orioles and Masson. And 17 years, I gave them everything I had. And so right now I'm giving Substack about everything I have, Zach. And I feel like I've written some really good stories. So there's paid subscriptions, there's free subscriptions. I feature both content. There's plenty of content that don't cost you a cent. And there's some content behind a paywall now, because people are flattering me with their money, and it's generating some revenue, which I'm excited about. And so my Substack has been on a steady line up, and I love it. I love doing it. I love doing the stuff on the minor leagues, and I've started a podcast. Today was my 18th episode. I can't believe 18, because I remember you helped me kind of get that started. I reached out to a lot of people who do this to get opinions, and I didn't have my head from my what when I started doing that. And so now I can put these podcasts out. And today I interviewed J.J. Cooper, who's one of the best people to talk to on the minor leagues and player development. And just so happens his outlet, Baseball America, just put 4 Orioles in their top 100. And so J.J. Cooper is sensational. Talked at length about Basayo and Beavers, talked about what led them to put Beavers in the top 100. J.J. Cooper believes, by the way, he doesn't speak for those other outlets, but he believes that he will be PPI eligible opening day next year. Between now and then, he'll get in. I think ESPN, Kylie McDaniel seems to love Beavers. I think he's going to put him in his top 100, and I think Pipeline eventually will. I think he's going to go in all 3. But we'll see. He's only in 1 right now, as of today we tape this. So thanks for letting me plug that, Zach. It's steveonbaseball.substack.com. Come on out, check out the site. And if you want to get a paid subscription, that certainly will be welcome. And Birdland has embraced me still. And I'm going to selfishly say, and pat myself on the back here, I think some of the work I've done there will rival anything going on now. And I think we got a lot of outstanding reporters who cover the Orioles, and I think I hang with them. So check me out on Substack.
Definitely. Now, when you were talking to JJ, did he mention Esteban Mejia at all?
We didn't get much into him outside of the fact that one of their reporters saw him live in Florida, and that really changed it for Baseball America when he threw 102. And so I say it this way. I say this with affection. Mejia and Nate George are like the shiny new toys, young guys that, wow, look what they're doing. And you can't deny Nate George, his productivity right now. And you were on him from the start, by the way. I remember you talking about him not long after that draft, how much you liked him. and he's proven you right. And so we're going to see as he goes up, because JJ does say this, and it's a very experienced point he makes. These young hitters, as they move up, those pitchers can find something to expose Nate George that the low A pitchers could not. And that's when you truly find out if he's going to be excite us as much as like Gunnar or Westberg, or he's just another solid prospect that might make it. There's a separator somewhere. High A starts it, double A more, triple A more. And so Nate George, though, he's off to a great start. Already at Aberdeen. That's exciting. 19 years old, power, speed. He seems to have it all. Knock on wood for him that we're right about that.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to get you out of here. I know you got an interview here on 105.7 coming up. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Today. What a day for me.
I know. You're a busy dude. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. Thanks for letting me plug the Substack. I think the episode today with JJ Cooper is great on the podcast. So go there, check it, listen to that. It's about a 25-minute interview, cover a lot of ground. Fans will really get more educated on all of the above we've been talking about. And so you keep up the good work here. You're doing a great job with this. And I know you played some pro ball. So you're not just a guy sitting on the couch here. You're a guy who's been between the white lines, who has a little background and knowledge of what these kids are going through.
Yeah. I do a little bit of sitting on the couch nowadays, though.
I'm sitting
not
on
too
mine
much,
right now.
Yeah, I mean, I coach 7U baseball. I'm coaching 7U football now, and they're keeping me busy. I don't get on the couch too much, actually. Man.
Listen, there's nothing better than teaching young kids the game of baseball. It's a game we love. I love it as much today as when I was 6 years old, and I think that's beautiful. And that's the beauty of baseball. It changes, evolves. There's all these advanced stats now. Whoever knew when I was 6 years old, we'd be talking about WOBA and spin rate and all this stuff. But it's all good information. That's what I look at. The more information you give me on baseball, I'll take time to look into it and try to keep up with it and bring it to my reporting. And I think the Orioles have an exciting farm right now. I'm excited to see what the next year holds. It's a big winner for Mike Elias and his staff. Mm-hmm. They're obviously on the spot to get this team better and try to correct whatever helped this thing fall apart this year. It's a lot of reasons, and they got to fix it because this fan base deserves it, and they're ready for a winner, and they'll embrace him. If the Orioles win, they'll show up.
Oh yeah. All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks so much, Zach. See ya.